Welcome to Clip Studio Paint / Manga Studio 5 Basics Selection Tools, and this is my second video of teaching you the basics of Manga Studio or Clip Studio Paint. If you've seen my interface video, I appreciate you watching this second video, and then technically, thank you for watching, and let's get right to it. So, what is a selection? A selection is an area, whether it's large or a small area, where you can work on that particular area that you've selected. So now I'm going to show you some of the basic tools you'll be using frequently when using selections. So, yeah. Alright, so this is the move icon. You move things. So, I usually set mine to letter V, but it says here you can go to letter K to go to move. But I've set mine to V, which I'm very used to as a shortcut to shortcut to using the tool. And then there's the marquee tool, which is over here. And the marquee tool has all these different tools that can help you out. I don't know most of them, but they are quite helpful. And they come in different shapes. So there's the rectangle tool, and then there's the square tool, or actually not square tool. You press shift and then click drag, you're going to get a perfect square using the rectangle tool. Same for the ellipse tool. You can make an ellipse, or you can make a perfect circle by pressing shift, click drag, and you have a perfect circle. And then there's the lasso tool where you can manually select stuff. Freehand, free draw, however you want it. There's the polyline tool for more edgier selections. As much polygons as you need to. And you finish with a double click if you're done with selecting. And then there's the selection pen where it helps you select like a brush. And then there's also the erase selection, which does the opposite of the selection pen, which deselects an area like a brush. So I'm not too familiar with the shrink selection, so I'll skip that one. And then onto the auto select or magic wand tool. So the auto select or magic wand tool helps select, I think, by color, and you can actually you can actually edit the settings on how you want the magic wand to behave. So I usually like it when I'm doing line art and selecting an entire area for coloring to have the gaps be closed by, I guess, 2 pixels, or yeah. So if it's at least 2 pixels gap, it will still close without going through the entire area. So, like, this is how magic wand behaves. See? Now, if your, area is open, like say a letter C, which has more than 2 pixels, it's gonna select everything. See? You have to close stuff for it to usually work, like the letter A with probably 1 pixel gap. It's gonna be closed like that. Anyhow, select or magic wand is generally a great way to select everything without needing to manually select everything else. Like, I want this, and then add a little more, but it's not everything. Yeah, these are for precision, and this is for just general selection. And then we have this thing called a selection launcher. It usually appears when you have a selection open, this little guy, and you can work on all sorts of buttons with these guys, right? But you can edit it any way you want. I just prefer these buttons. I think it's fairly different when you first install Manga Studio. So, however you want your selection launcher to behave, you can edit it through this selection launcher settings. Click this, right? And then you can put as many buttons and sub buttons as you want. Like for example, you want cut because you regularly use cut. All you want to do is select cut, add a button, and then their button is here. So if you want to remove it, just press the trash can button, and that button's gone. And then you can divide the button, or I mean, you can divide a set of buttons by clicking this in the middle, or you can put a sub button, like say clear, into crop. So you press, oh, cancel that, it's clear, it's already here. Let's see, outline selection perhaps, and you want it under crop, and insert it to the group. So it's going to be under here. So you have crop, and then you have outline selection. Okay? So if you want to delete it again, just press delete. You'll be fine. Alright, so your selection launcher makes everything easier for you. It's much accessible as soon as you have it. And you can always edit it whenever you like to. Alright? So those are the tools that you'll be regularly using. On to the next one. So, things that a selection can do. Okay? So, you can move a selection. Well, you can move selections and you can move layers with the move tool. So this one. Oh, this one. You have to make sure also you select the layer you're on for it to move. Okay? And another example of move. So you select it and then you move it. See? And then there's the move selection, is almost the same as move, except you're actually not editing anything. You're just moving the selection. So there's a circle, and you're just moving the circle around. Just in case you're not sure if you placed it in the right area where you want to edit it. Okay? So now you can work on the selection too. So for example, I just want this little part of the roof of the house red. And then brush. So that's like working on the selection. See? Okay? And then when there's cut, so I just want the triangle and just have it somewhere else. So you cut it, which is you go to edit, cut, or Control X, cut, selection, and then you can paste selection, which is edit, paste, or edit, paste, and Control V. See, now it has a different layer. So that's one thing. And then also you can transform anything you select with. So perhaps I want the roof larger. You can make it bigger if you want to constrain the proportions or not. So if you want it just regular, edit, drag, and I think you have to see proportions. Oh yeah, you can tweak it by pressing Control. You can rotate it. You can make it smaller. You can change the rotation area. Lots of stuff. And if you just want to commit to it, you press enter. If you don't want to commit to it, like for example, if it's too big, I don't want to commit to it, just press escape. It goes back. And then that's the basics of selection. Let's move on to the advanced versions of selection. So there's this thing where you can select an object on the layer. So I only have this square on this layer, nothing else. Everything else is transparent, right? And if you just want to select the square without needing to use the wand tool or the opposite of the wand tool, you can just press Control and click the layer. You select the actual square. You can move around. See? And then what else? You can you can add to a selection, right? So if you want more selections, like say, I want more circles here, you press Shift, you have an extra circle. Same thing with square, you press Shift. You can add to a selection. Now to remove a selection, you press Alt. So okay. So that's how to remove, minus a selection. And of course you can still edit it, brush over it, however you want. And then there's this thing called selection by color. So I'll show you an example of how to do selection by color. So this is an example. So you go to selection, select color gamut. So the color gamut will try to help you select by color. So this here is helps you select by color. The higher range it is, the more colors it gets involved depending on what color you choose, and the less color, the less number you have here. Okay, we'll stick to just that particular color that you want. So perhaps I just want the brightest yellow. It only selects this little yellow stuff. See? But I don't know. I want to get all the blonde hairs too. I don't want just the brightest yellow. So you can, raise the threshold or the margin, and then you reset it again, and I just want all the yellow. And it selects nearly everything that has yellow in it, like the skin, the orange, the face, the hat, almost everything. So just choose wisely. And if anything, you can always reset stuff. Okay? What else? Okay, now on to some basic shortcuts. So here. So Control plus C is cut. Control plus V is paste. Control plus A is select all. Control plus D is deselect all. Alt is to remove or minus a selection. Shift is to add or plus a selection, or constraints proportions, if you like those perfect circles and perfect squares. And I think I'm forgetting one more trick. Yes. So if you use selections frequently, like you go back to that same shape of the selection as often as you do when you draw, and you don't want to keep on selecting a particular shape over and over again, because one of these days you're not going to be very accurate in selecting them. Okay, you can have this thing called a selection layer. And in order to go there, I think you have to have a selection, or at least when you start your selection of a particular thing, and you always want to use this particular section, you go to convert to selection layer, right? So now you have the selection saved. So every time you want to go back to this particular selection, like I taught you, when you have a layer in an object, you always press Control, click, and now you have that selection. So you can like turn this off and edit on your canvas again. So that's mostly most that's most of the tricks that you can do with selections. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I appreciate it if you would either subscribe or have comments or questions. Well, I would be very, very glad to try and help you out. I'm not perfect, I'm not professional either. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial.